Hello, Cancer Guy here. I'd like to talk to you about a brand new FDA-approved antibody drug conjugate that is a game changer for first-line treatment of unresectable or metastatic triple-negative breast cancers. Here's our disclaimer. Please make sure you read and understand this. On May 22nd of this year, 2026, the FDA approved the new TROP-2 targeted antibody drug conjugate datopotamab deruxtecan, or Datroway. I just call it DXD. It's approved for unresectable or metastatic triple-negative breast cancer in patients who are not candidates for PD-1 or PD-1 ligand inhibitor therapy. While PD-1 based chemoimmunotherapy has been a real benefit to triple-negative breast cancers, not a lot of triple-negative breast cancers respond to this. And that's because there's a lot of variation between the different subtypes of triple-negative breast cancers. Basically, the two subtypes we know that respond really well are the basal-like immune-activated subtype and the immunomodulatory. There's actually anywhere from, 5 to maybe 10 different subtypes. Classically, it's about 5 to 7. The other subtypes are the luminal antigen receptor, or LAR, the mesenchymal stem-like, and the basal-like immune suppressed. And immune therapy typically does not work in these, and that accounts for about 70% of triple negative breast cancer patients. So, in theory, only about 30% of triple negative breast cancer patients get a exceptional response to immune therapy. So, we definitely need some more targets in this because the only other option would be chemotherapy. So, a little bit about TROP2. TROP2 is a cell surface receptor that is highly overexpressed in all molecular subtypes of triple negative breast cancer. In other words, all of the ones, regardless of whether they are immune modulatory or not. So all, 5 or 7 different subtypes, including the LAR, the mesenchymal stem-like, and the basal-like immune suppressed. So this is important because it means that TROP2 could be a potential target for these patients who PD-1 inhibitors are not an option for. So recent advances in antibody drug conjugates targeting TROP2 are resulting in exceptional responses for patients with triple-negative breast cancer and high TROP2 expression. But first, let's just do a bit of a primer on some ADCs. Recently, ADCs have been really standing out amongst different cancer treatments. They are what we refer to as targeted chemotherapy or targeted drug. There's also bispecific T cell engagers, but we won't get into them right now. Basically, this has resulted in a paradigm shift in how we treat cancers. These drugs utilize an antibody, or some you can use a small molecule, against an overexpressed tumor antigen or cell surface receptor. In this case, it's TROP2. And then they attach this to a powerful drug via something called a conjugate molecule. And this conjugate molecule allows the drug to stay attached to the antibody in its inactivated form until it actually is taken in by the tumor cell. And therefore, the drug is not going to have any side effects on the other cells in the body. So here's a little diagram of how antibody drug conjugates work. You can see there's the drug datopotamab deruxtecan, and the little yellow star-shaped or flash signal is the chemotherapy drug or deruxtecan in this case. And then you have the TROP2 receptor on the tumor cell. And as you can see, it attaches to the TROP2 receptor on the tumor cell, takes it in, the tumor cell breaks it down and releases the chemo and kills it from the inside out, kind of like a molecular Trojan horse. These drugs have revolutionized cancer treatment, and just about every company you can imagine is getting into them. The last I checked, there was about 1,400 different drug companies making HER2 antibody drug conjugates. So there's a massive scale going on, and each new drug builds on the developments and the research of the previous generation drugs. Importantly, these drugs can be used in any type of cancer that overexpress a receptor, in this case TROP2, and they can go anywhere in the body and only target the tumor cells. So I like this term molecular Trojan horse. While previous ADCs that target TROP2, specifically sacituzumab govitecan, have shown significant benefits in various cancers with TROP2, Datopotamab is a newer version of this drug, and it has some very effective new ADC technologies. I'm just going to go over those briefly. So it has a better payload. Both drugs deliver a topoisomerase 1 inhibitor. This is involved in opening up the DNA so it can be transcribed or so the gene can be transcribed. But datopotamab uses DXd, which is about 10 times more potent than the SN38 drug that is used in sacituzumab. So it's a much more potent drug. And then it has a different linker technology. So datopotamab uses a more stable conjugate. This molecule attaches the drug to the antibody, and it prevents its release in the bloodstream or releasing prematurely before it actually reaches the tumor. Whereas sacituzumab uses a more unstable conjugate, leading to higher levels of the drug being released into the blood circulation and less of the drug reaching the tumor cells, also causing more side effects because the activated drug gets released into the blood circulation compared to datopotamab. So this drug was recently tested in the Tropian Breast 02 trial. In this case, patients with unresectable or metastatic triple-negative breast cancer who had not received prior chemotherapy or other systemic anti-cancer therapy for unresected or metastatic breast cancer and who were not candidates for PD-1 or PD-1 inhibitor therapy were then treated with datopotamab deruxtecan. All other patients, in other words, the controls in this trial, received investigators' choice of chemotherapy, which was typically paclitaxel, nab-paclitaxel in the majority of patients, capecitabine, eribulin, or carboplatin. The overall response in this trial was 64%, which is really great, compared to 30% for the various chemotherapy regimes. The progression-free survival, which indicates how long 50% of the patients in the trial remain cancer-free, was 10.8 months, with a range of up to 13 months for the datopotamab versus only 5.6 months for the chemotherapy. But what I like is the long time curves. And you can see for the PFS here, you can see on the top in blue, even at just under 39 months, 38 months, there's still patients that are cancer free. I think that looks to be about what, 25% compared to chemo, where that stopped at about 30 months. So when you look at the long-term progression-free curve here, you can see that a lot of patients above and beyond the 50% mark, which is here, still were cancer-free, even at 36, 37 months. The overall survival was 23.7 months for datopotamab versus 18.7 months for the chemotherapy protocols. But importantly, rates of serious and grade 3 adverse events were similar, and discontinuation due to these adverse events was actually low with datopotamab versus standard chemo. So here's the overall survival rate, and you could see long-term survival here at just under 39 months. Almost 35, 37% of patients are still alive compared to the chemo. So this is a nice little breakdown of the trial I got from the article, and you can see the link below. It's a nice little summary, and it talks about the different efficacy of the drugs, the disease setting, the tumor-related adverse events, and so on. So I love these little summaries because you can get a good visual right off the bat. Of interest, and this was really surprising to me, is they didn't actually discuss TROP-2 testing. Now, it might have been done, or it's obviously going to be done as a secondary, hopefully as a secondary analysis. But TROP-2 testing is very important because we know that the higher your TROP2 level is, the better chance you have of responding to this drug. So we definitely look forward to any post-trial analysis, but I'm going to assume that once that does come out, we're going to see a huge trend in the favor of high TROP2 expression. So just a little summary of what we do. We offer educational consultations about what sort of treatment options and therapies are available for you. We are not a diagnostic. We don't prescribe, and we don't actually provide treatments. But what we do is a scientific analysis so you can know what's out there. And we have both a 1-hour detailed consult and a 30-minute fast track consult where we meet with you on Zoom and we discuss what's happening internationally for your type of cancer and help you access those treatments. We have a network of doctors around the world that we work with and treatment facilities that we can hook you up with. You can also join our Cancer Just the Facts program. as well as visit our YouTube channel and stay informed for the Cancer Guy. Okay, have a great day.